Welcome to Richardson Reports. I'm Michael Richardson. Socialists from around New England gathered in Boston this past weekend for the New England Socialism Conference. Planning for 2012 was at the top of the topic, including a keynote speech by Cindy Sheehan, sparking interest in a presidential bid by the anti-war mother. Sheehan would enjoy the nomination of the Peace and Freedom Party in California, likely, should she decide to make the run. The economy and the war were central topics as organizers discussed union activity in the era of corporate bailouts. One speaker from New York, Algier Hawkins, talked about racism in the age of Obama and became a strident critic of the administration. Algier Hawkins explains.
And I think the period that we're talking about now, this age of Obama, the first African-American president within directing the American democracy and capitalism, is quite a very interesting development, in fact. American democracy and capitalism has rested always on racial and ethnic and class oppression. The pseudoscientific usage of race, which is a social construct, particularly being very important in the construction of the mythology of the birth of the United States. But at the center of the American project has been the extermination of the Native American population, the enslavement and forced extraction of labor of Africans, the usage of migrant or cheap labor. If we look at the Chinese workers in the 19th century laying down the tracks to the expansion throughout the western portion of the United States, and also the internment camps of the Japanese during World War II. So we have a very deep and long history of racial, ethnic, and class oppression. We can even go back to the 1600s when there were attempts to discriminate and force Jews out of the new Americas. But the presidential and also the election victory of Barack Hussein Obama, many people would believe that it would usher in a new period, a post-racial society. We heard that term used over and over again. That in fact the content of a person's character, instead of their color of skin, will determine racial justice, racial progress in a highly racialized society. But despite the most powerful individual in the industrialized world being this black man, his politics of race neutrality, a post-black freedom movement, race conciliation politics, in my estimation, has only exacerbated the racial injustice that still exists in American society. And then in fact, we don't need the old Jim Crow signs of a white water fountain and a black or Negro water fountain. But in fact, institutional racism is so deeply ingrained in the institutions of American democracy and capitalism that this society has rested upon for the past 400 years. Now, unfortunately, we have to look at Obama from the lens of the candidate Obama during the Democratic Party period of time, and the struggle to win the nomination, and then President Obama. So, but let's look at and let's examine the state of affairs facing working class people, particularly workers and youth and people of color. A number of years ago, to which Obama didn't even speak on the issue, in fact, didn't want to touch it. And in many respects, January 6th was the contemporary relative of the Scottsboro Boys case of the 1930s.